All right, politics continues, and of course our reporters are out and about just to make sure that they give you the latest on what's happening in the politics. But for now, let's switch focus and of course talk about the conversation of the day, and it's all about self-awareness. And remember, this conversation will be here in the next, 1 hour or so. All right, so of course you want to make sure that you grasp as much as you can from today's conversation on self-awareness. And of course, to help us with that, we have Stephen Mwiru, who is a life coach. Stephen, so good to see you this morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
How's Monday coming up?
Beautiful.
Beautiful, huh?
Yes.
I like that.
Yes.
Okay. And of course, you are an architect by profession, and like you said, a life coach by passion. I like that. Okay. So you help people with the design of their houses, but you also help people with their lives, right?
Yeah, and let's just say that I went to the university to study architecture.
Yes.
That is why I'm an architect by profession.
Yes.
But at some point through the topic we are discussing today, self-awareness, I realized there was much more in me than just being an architect.
I like that.
That is how I became a life coach.
So this is like the topic in itself, self-awareness, is closer to your heart, right? Okay, I like that. Now, a study by Harvard University, Harvard Business Review, estimated that only 10 to 15% of people are truly self-aware. So I think the question to start with is, what exactly, does self-awareness really mean?
First of all, the reason I believe that the percentage is so low
is low? You think it's lower than that?
No, I'm saying that's low. If you say 10 to 15%, that's a low percentage because we need to have everybody self-aware. It's because this is an intentional thing, and most people are not intentional in terms of their lives.
Okay.
So self-awareness is basically the ability to have a very, very clear understanding of who you are, a clear understanding of what people think you are, and basically where you fit in the whole sphere of the world.
Okay. Question is, again, you see, when you say the ability to understand who we are, right? Some people will be like, I know myself. Say, no, my name is Winnie Lubembe. I know I am a sister. I am an auntie. I am this. I am that. I like this. I don't like this. That's it, right? So to what level then when we talk about self-awareness, does it go?
Now, let me tell you. You see, when people are asked, who are you? And they say, I'm Stephen Mwiru. That's just a name. I could very well have been called John Onyango or whatever. Would it have made any difference? And the answer is no. If you look at a book, like I'm holding a book here, you can read the title of the book, but does it tell you what is inside? So for you to know what is inside that book, what would you need to do?
Is open the book
and
at least read the preface, right?
Yeah. So we all walk around like books that are unopened. The reason we are not self-aware, we have not developed that culture of opening ourselves up, of doing self-evaluation, of even asking questions when we need to know. Because if I wanted to know what Winnie thinks about me, I don't need to speculate. I just need to ask Winnie, what do you think about me? So for people to be self-aware, they need to do several things. The first one is just self-evaluation.
All right.
You need to evaluate yourself. And to evaluate yourself, it means you have to have those conversations with yourself.
Okay.
I think the most important conversations you can ever have are actually conversations with yourself. Asking yourself the hard questions.
Okay.
Who really am I? What do I have inside that is unique to me? What is it that sets me apart from other people?
Right.
Because, at birth, or let's just say at creation, God puts something absolutely unique in each and every one of us.
Absolutely, yeah.
But it is very possible to live throughout your life never knowing what that is until you start having those conversations. And also, of course, take it to the next level where you're intentional in terms of finding out what people think. Because people see you from a perspective that if you're not aware, it may serve you negatively.
That's true.
Yeah?
That's true.
Because life is about how you relate with people.
One another.
So what do they think about you? I don't know if they remember this question that Jesus asked his disciples. I think it's Matthew 16, verse 13. He asked them, who do people say that I am?
Okay.
It's a question each one of us needs to ask. Who do people think that you are? Because if you ask that question and you get honest answers, it will start you on a journey of if you need to correct yourself or if you need to improve something.
Some areas,
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Question is, and you said, again, a bit of examples in terms of what we need to ask. But question is, how often then should we jitaka mkutano, right? And just ask ourselves these questions. And again, to what extent do people really ask themselves the tough questions? Because sometimes we just want to be like lenient with ourselves, thinking that we know ourselves, very well, but really, we're sort of like scared to ask ourselves those very serious questions. Yes.
The point is, you should have these conversations very regularly.
All right.
But there's a problem. Until you get to a point where you feel uncomfortable in terms of where you are, in terms of your life, you may never start these conversations.
Okay.
There are people who are just there, they're just existing. One of the benefits of self-awareness, and that is why I'm saying you need to have it regularly. In fact, every day you should have these conversations. Okay. Set aside some time for this. It's because self-awareness leads you to self-management, self-leadership, and that is what will help you achieve your full potential.
All right.
People have so much potential that they haven't realized. Remember what Dr. Miles Monroe once said, that the richest place on earth is the graveyard, the cemetery, because there lies a lot of people who died with so many dreams unfulfilled, with their potential untapped. Books they could have written, they didn't write. Music they could have composed, they did not compose. Businesses they could have opened, they didn't. And the reason is they never got to a point where they asked themselves those hard questions. What am I carrying? So my answer is, it should be daily. In fact, set aside like 15 minutes every day to just self-reflect, to evaluate yourself, and if need be, also ask the people around you what they think about you, what you're doing.
You said intention is very important, right? And again, we should live our lives with intention, not just survive, like you said, or just exist because, well, we're here. What choice do we have? But then again, so what the questions should we ask ourselves? I know you talked about an aspect of who am I? Why am I here? But aside from those, what are some of these deep questions that we should, very specific questions that we should ask ourselves?
Awesome. Yeah. Some of the very specific deep questions you need to ask is, because as I said, you are built, you are created by God with some very powerful abilities and qualities. What are your strengths? Some of the things that you are absolutely good at. Because even those people who think that they are not very good, they need to know that even a broken clock is correct twice a day. You cannot be all bad. You may be broken. You may be, but there's a time that clock over there will be correct, isn't it?
Yes.
Twice a day.
Yeah.
You too cannot be all bad. There's something absolutely awesome about you.
Yeah.
And you need to start asking yourself, what are your strengths? And to understand what your strengths are is simply to look at what are the things that you do without too much effort, and yet they yield fruits.
Okay.
What are those things you do not struggle with? Na kila mtu ako nayo. Everybody has.
Absolutely.
I love what Einstein told us, that every one of us is a genius. But if you are to judge the genius of a fish by its ability to climb a tree, then that fish will live its entire life believing it's stupid. Because it wasn't born to climb trees. It was not created for that. So even you need to ask yourself, what are those things you do without struggle?
Okay.
What is your fish mode? So that you can get into the medium where you're meant to operate.
All right.
But that is just one side of the coin. Self-awareness is not just about your strengths. Some of the things that could be holding you back, could be shackling you, are your weaknesses. So you also need to ask yourself, what are your weaknesses? Because if you don't understand what weaknesses you have, then you may be walking around, like telling people when I train them, you walk around like a person who has smeared himself or herself with rotten egg. So you'll be stinking and people don't want
That's
to deal
true.
with you
Nobody wants
because
to.
you slapped yourself. Actually call it an egg slap. So you need to know what are these things that are not portraying you the right way,
All right.
that are taking away from your progress, that are keeping maybe good contacts away from you. People don't want to deal with you because they see things that
There's
they
just
don't
something
like.
about you that they don't like.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there's another level also. You need to ask yourself, what are your gifts?
Yeah.
Because everybody was born with some gift.
Okay.
And your gift holds the key to your wealth. Your gift holds the key to even doors that even academic papers will never open for you. In fact, the Bible says that your gift will take you before kings.
That's true.
Yeah.
Question is, and I'm pretty sure even during your training, yeah, when you ask people these questions, they will tell you, listen, I don't know. There's some people who just have no clue what makes them who they are, what are their strengths, what their weaknesses, what their, especially that gift part, you know, the gift and talent. You ask someone, they'll tell you, I am not too sure I know, because what we have been accustomed to think about when you talk about gifts and talents is, for example, athletes, footballers, musicians, you know, so we usually think about it in those areas, such that when you ask someone, what is your gift, they'll tell you, I'm not even sure that I have one, right? So then in understanding these things, and they're very, very vital in terms of shaping who we are, then how do you identify your gifts?
First of all, let me say that anyone who thinks they don't have gifts or they don't know their gifts, it's just that they have not been very serious, very intentional in terms of just identifying. Because I read somewhere, I'm yet to verify how that whoever wrote that came up with that number, but it does carry a lot of weight, that each one of us has a minimum of 550 gifts.
550 gifts.
550 gifts. So when I read that, I asked myself, where are they? Even for me that time, I was shocked.
I'm just like, I'm trying to think.
But I want to tell you something very interesting. I realized that this guy could even have been economical with the figure.
Yeah.
First of all, everything you have, you are given. There is nothing you have that you gave yourself. Your eyes, you didn't give yourself. Your nose, your mouth, everything you have.
You were given.
You were given.
Okay.
God gave you.
Okay.
And just to show you that that is the case, I always like telling people about Nick Vujicic. You know that?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Australian guy.
Yes.
He has no hands. He has no legs.
No limbs, yes.
But yet he's doing amazing things. There are gifts you have he doesn't have.
Yeah.
But they don't, what he doesn't have doesn't hold him back.
Yeah.
Because he's focused on what he has. And he realized he has a lot. From that point alone, you see, you can even count your gifts now without even doing any introspection, because there are things you can see. Isn't it? There are people who have nice, long, thin fingers. They are said by scientists and psychologists to be good with piano. But somebody may be having that, but nobody has ever exposed him to piano.
All right.
Yeah.
But then again,
So I was just saying that once you start looking at what you have and stop focusing on what you don't have, you start seeing your gifts.
Your gifts, okay.
But we are so ungrateful. We always like focusing on what we don't have. And yet we don't ask ourselves, what have we done with what we have? Why am I here today? You didn't call me here because I'm an architect, right?
That's true.
You called me here because I'm a life coach.
Yeah.
I have not always been a life coach. I did not go to the university to study this. This is something I went for a 3-month training and discovered something. You know?
It's actually what you like.
Yeah, it's what I love. It's a passion. And I'm well equipped naturally with it. God gave me a gift. So if we are intentional, if we start focusing on what we have, we'll discover that you cannot even exhaust the gifts you have.
That you have. Okay. So then also for the questions, and listening to you very keenly, there's nowhere that you've mentioned the question why, which I think most of the time we tend to ask ourselves that particular question, why? right? Why not? Oh, your book, why? Why not me? Okay, why is the question why not a so good question to ask yourself when you know, doing introspection?
It's a disempowering question.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Though it depends on what perspective, because the question why, if you're looking for a reason behind something, the reason for your existence, for example, it will be answered by or through the question why. That's not disempowering.
Yeah.
But it's when we find ourselves in situations that perhaps we don't like, or perhaps we feel this is not our portion, and we start now questioning why. And we start looking at, Winnie is doing so well. She's always so smartly dressed. Why am I not in her shoes? Why does she have what she has and I don't have? And I'm saying it's a disempowering question because it makes you a victim.
It does.
It
really
creates in
does.
you a victim mentality. And what you're doing is you are comparing yourself with other people. You're not born in this world to compare yourself with other people. It's good to look at other people as a mirror. It's good to look at other people as a point of reference. Maybe you want to aspire to be, but
Like that
not
person.
sitting down and saying, why are they so blessed and I'm not? You are blessed. You just haven't activated your blessing mode.
Okay. You've not activated
You've not activated.
Okay.
And maybe you're even looking the wrong direction. Instead of just now looking at people and envying them. Because when you're comparing yourself, what you start doing is envy.
It's a bit of envy and jealousy.
And it makes you feel lesser, a lesser child maybe of God. Why not just get to the right source of the answers, God himself, and also have these conversations with God? Because God does reveal a lot of things to us when we connect, but most of us don't connect with God.
Okay, or whatever sort of, you know, whatever being that someone believes in, all right?
But, you know, whatever they call that being, okay, I call
for
him
your
God.
case, which is absolutely okay.
But there's a supreme being every human being knows that created you. So if you have not connected that well with your being, and you've not connected very well with your own inner person, then the question why becomes inevitable.
Okay.
But instead of asking that question
why?
Now you need to look at, you're such a powerful being. You have everything you need to succeed, no matter who you are. Why not? You need to become that force of nature, a moving force of nature that has passion for life, that has intentionality, and that can move whatever is on the way. Because a person who asks why not doesn't see obstacles.
Okay.
A person who asks why not lives in that kindred spirits realm. If you think of when you are a child, these things of you cannot, it's not possible, were never there. Because you didn't, the world hadn't shaped your mind or had not put so many no's in you, had not started just putting barriers in you. You knew the world was open for you to explore, to conquer everything. In fact, I like asking people, if the child you once were met the adult you now are, would that child be happy? Or would that child go like, what did you do to my dreams? You are a murderer.
But again, the reality is, as we grew up, right, things happen. There's a lot of influences, you know, environmental. There's so many factors that sort of changes people or shapes the way we think, shapes the way, you know, we see things, shapes our perspective, but also change what we think about ourselves, right? So when you say think mostly positive, sometimes that is just not the case. In as much as you want to think about positive, sometimes you just look around and ask yourself, where is that positive, first of all, to think about, right? The reality is sometimes there's so many factors that influences how we see things and perceive things. So the question is then, so how then do we navigate this? And to what extent should we give these external factors a chance into shaping who we are?
Well, we cannot run away from the fact that the world does shape us.
Absolutely.
And we cannot run away from the fact that things will happen. both good and bad,
yeah.
to us. But I am reminded of a gentleman called Viktor Frankl. He died, of course. Viktor Frankl was a victim of Holocaust, and but he survived. Okay, he was a survivor of the Holocaust. But he's written a book called In Man's Search of Meaning. And in that book, he narrates something very horrifying. But also, through it, he gives a lot of hope. And I want to use what he has said to answer the question you're saying. He's a guy who watched his family, entire family exterminated. Watched, as in he witnessed this.
Difficult, yeah.
Now, that would make most normal people who think normal, go nuts, literally. Madara case.
Yeah.
You agree? But he asked himself this question, why have I been spared? And while he was still a captive, he told himself that, you know what? Everything can be taken from you. Everything. Except one thing.
One thing, okay.
The right to choose your attitude in any given set of circumstances.
Attitude is key. Okay.
Yeah. That your attitude determines so many things about life. And it's not just a question of being positive. It's a question of always changing a perspective and looking for the silver lining.
Okay.
You're alive. Why?
That's important.
Today, people are dead. So, I mean, there are people we slept the same time with last night. Or,
They didn't wake up.
They didn't wake up. Some of them had absolutely no pain, nothing. They're okay. Is that not true?
Yeah, that's
Somebody
true.
was driving today in the morning, gets into an accident, they're gone. But you're here. Why are you here? And that is what helped Victor look at life from a very different perspective. How come my entire family was exterminated? And I was with them, and I was spared. And he said this, between stimuli and response, there's a gap, there's a moment. And that gap is your power. Your power to choose how you want to move forward.
The will to choose, yeah.
So life really is about choices. And you're a product of all the choices you've made since you were born. Self-awareness tells us that we can make our choices, and our choices then make us. Unfortunately, and it's important for me to say this, we have freedom to make choices, but we don't have freedom to choose the consequences thereof. Because the consequences of whatever you're doing, your actions, your thoughts, your words, are a byproduct of the primary choice. So you choose your consequences when you make the choice.
Okay. Yeah. But also, sounds so easy. But I think it's something that we can try. And like you said earlier on, take one day at a time.
Yeah.
Sit down, ask yourselves those serious questions. It will give you a better perspective about who you are. But now, you also said you can also ask people around you, right? What do you think about me? What makes me me? You know, their perspective about us. But there's always that question of there's something that what people think versus what the reality is about ourselves.
True.
So again, question is, to what magnitude should we take in what
people tell you?
Exactly.
First of all,
because they might have like very wrong ideas about who you are.
I need to make a caveat.
Okay.
Even as you ask people what they think, not everyone. First of all, not everyone wishes you well.
Oh, absolutely.
There are people who will tell you things because they want to hurt you.
Yes.
So it's not like you go out in the streets and start doing
the microphone and
an opinion poll and
yes.
No.
Okay.
When I train people, I take them through what I call the associations that we loosely refer to as friends. And when we do that, I tell them there are 3 categories of people in your life that you call friends. And it's because you don't know this. There are those people who are with you because of what they think they can gain from you, and you call them constituents. They're just there because they think Winnie can help them, you know, gain something.
Okay.
And then when they realize they are not getting what they want from you, they will look for another person, yeah? So you can't ask those kind of people what they think.
Okay.
They have self-serving interests. Then there are people who we call comrades. And comrades are people who are with you because they think you can help them fight certain battles, you know? Again, if you don't help them, or even if you help them and the battle is over, they go separate ways. But we have what we call confidence. And that's a level of friendship that you need to invest in. Because confidence are people who are with you no matter what. Even when you goof, because we all do, they will not expose your nakedness. They come and tell you, hey, Winnie, there's a problem here.
You need to
we
fix
need to
this.
do, we need to do this. So it's a relationship, or it's a level of relationship you've got to be, again, very intentional about. You've got to have that circle of people you know they are your support pillars. They are there for you. If you need help, they'll never take you through DCI interrogations. They'll just come and say, okay,
help you.
How can we do
Let's
it?
see what we can do. Okay, so the people that you trust the most.
People you trust and people you know, whatever they tell you because they care.
All right.
Whether it's bad or it is good, they mean well for you. But that calls you to be a very mature person. Because you also need to be able to take negative
I think that is where the thing is.
Yes.
Yeah.
But most people are still children. They haven't mastered themselves.
Yeah.
You're seeing a grown-up who can take
criticism. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
and criticism is
but
feedback.
it's good. Yes.
So when you talk about personal growth, personal development, self-awareness, always know that you have good side, you have bad side, you have ugly side.
True.
Being able to look through all those, accept that, this is me, that's what maturity is.
Okay.
And that is when you start being really self-aware.
All right.
You cannot grow, you cannot develop until you get to that point.
Okay.
And let me just say this.
All right.
We go to the university to study for degrees and stuff. The greatest subject of study for you should be you. You should be your greatest subject of study to yourself. Because all these other things outside here may not matter much.
Okay.
A guy called Aosu said that knowing yourself, knowing other people is intelligence. Knowing yourself is wisdom. Mastering other people is strength. But mastering you is real power. So if you want to become a powerful person, you need to know you, master you.
Okay. All right. As we bring this conversation to a close, the question is fine. So we understand how important this is in terms of self-evaluation. Ask people around you as well. Just do more of introspection to just get to really understand who you are and your purpose right here on earth. The question is then, how integral is this when it comes to different aspects of our lives, leadership, in workplaces, in relationships, different forms of relationships as well? And I'll take that as your parting shot.
I would say it's the most important thing because, first of all, if you talk about leadership, you can't lead anyone else effectively until you've been able to lead your most important follower, and that is you. The foundation of great leadership is great personal leadership. And self-awareness helps you lead yourself the right way. It helps you make decisions that will take you to your destination, where you want to go. Because you've got to decide what destiny is your life headed to. When it comes to relationships, again, even when you look at how we have so many divorce cases now, why is that the case? We are so busy looking for soulmates, and yet we haven't found our souls. Okay. Self-awareness helps you
have your soul
find your soul.
Okay.
And
before you go
get in tune with that soul. Because people come into your life are not supposed to come and complete you.
Yeah.
They come to complement
you. Yes.
So if you haven't found who you are, you don't know who you are, somebody else coming will just add more confusion to your life.
Absolutely, to your life. Okay.
And finally, in terms of work, first of all, self-awareness will make you know what you should be doing. Because most people do whatever they do. They're in a job. They do whatever they are doing for the money. You want to pay bills and everything. And I know that because as an architect, you can imagine, I've done a lot of work. I've done even presidential projects. But it reached a point where I started asking myself this difficult question. How come I'm doing all these things, I'm making the money, but I'm feeling
not
so hollow, so
fulfilled.
empty.
Okay.
Self-awareness helps you get in touch and in tune with your inner self, with the things that make you fulfilled.
Okay.
And instead of chasing jobs, you start
chase-
chasing work.
Okay.
Because
All right.
work is all about your purpose.
Okay.
And your purpose is about what God put you here to do.
To
It's
do.
an assignment you have based on the way you are equipped, the way
Okay.
you are wired,
Okay.
based on that self-awareness.
All right.
When
Self-awareness
you
is
find
key.
yourself
Yes.
and you find your purpose, you don't look for employment.
All
you
right.
look for deployment.
Hey, okay, something to think about even as we end this conversation. Stephen Weir, life coach. I know this is a conversation that we can have for like 3 hours, but we have to say goodbye. But thank you very much, Stephen, for coming by, giving us insights that we really need to think about, even on our journey towards self-discovery and self-awareness. Thank you very much. Very, very useful insights we learned this morning. And before we go on a break, remember, children all around Kenya rely on water from unsafe sources. So Colgate is asking you to help change this. Just a little water can make a very big difference. For every pack of Colgate that you buy exclusively at Naivas, you help us build 30 water wells that will provide clean water for 120,000 Kenyans. So give a helping hand. Shop at your nearest Naivas store or online at naivas.co.ke for more information about the campaign. Go to Colgate Kenya's Facebook page or wellboring/colgate.com. Terms and conditions apply. See you after the short break.